Welcome back to We Heart Therapy. You're watching the series EFT Talk for Therapists, where we're talking about subjects related to EFT. I'm Anabelle Bugatti, your host. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified EFT therapist, and we have a really exciting guest today. You might remember Gail Palmer. She is one of the most famous trainers of EFT, and she's worked with Sue for over 30 years. She's an LMFT and a licensed social worker. She's in Ottawa, Canada. She's one of the co-directors of the ICEEFT, the International Center for Excellence in Emotionally Focused Therapy. And she has an additional center that she runs in Ottawa, which I'm sure she'd be happy to talk to us about. And we're going to talk today about certification in EFT. Thank you so much, Gail, for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be here. Thanks, Anabelle.
So let's talk about, let me turn my light on here too while we're in here. Let's talk about certification in EFT and, why would therapists want to get certified?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. I mean, certainly sort of the practical one is that most people that become certified find their practices full, right? That the consumers are getting, clients are looking and are getting, very aware of EFT through Hold Me Tight and are looking for therapists that are certified because they know that they've been really trained in the model. So practice-wise, but also the journey towards certification really helps people up their game, right? That they really are able to master the model and integrate it in a way that, the challenge of certification just helps them to do.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that because I went through the certification process myself, and part of the process, if those of you watching aren't familiar, is that you've got to send in tapes of yourself and you have to do stage 1 and a stage 2 tape. And I know many therapists going through this process, they're always like, I need to find a really good tape. And when you go into session, you start to become more focused on the steps and making sure that you're really sticking to the model. And as you said, it really ups your game and helps you it just sinks in so much more deeply through this journey.
Yeah. And, just to be able to differentiate what is stage 1 work with a couple and what is stage 2 work, and being able to demonstrate that through sending a tape in, it just becomes, you're just much more mindful of the EFT process and the interventions, that we use, and, showing, working with a supervisor, right, to get there really helps.
Absolutely. Now, you brought up a really important point, and I was wondering if you could talk about this a little bit more for our viewers about the difference between what a stage 1 tape might look like and what a stage 2 tape might look like.
Okay, so basically, what we're looking for in stage 1 is that the therapist is tracking the cycle, right? That the therapist is really looking at the interactional pattern between the couple and starting to frame up the couple distress as being that pattern. So we're looking for, skills related to tracking the cycle, identifying the cycle, making the cycle explicit, and starting to access the underlying emotion. Maybe not for both partners, right? But starting to, change the music in the couple relationship by accessing the underlying emotion and then linking that back up to the behaviors, right? A position in the cycle. So it's really oriented more around the negative pattern and, starting to get some of the pieces related to that.
So stage 1 tape might look like where the therapist is outlining the cycle with a couple. Oh, so this is when you do, such and such, but you say underneath that you react with anger, but you're really feeling sad. And when you reflect this anger back, then you do this. Sort of going back, and then you might go into one of the partners and start sort of maybe dressing it down for a small enactment, maybe as part of the tape.
Yeah, it's not required, but if it was, if you get a new emotion or a new, a primary emotion, right? To have one person share that with the other and process that enactment. It's not going to be all that deep because we're in stage one.
Right.
But yeah, to move any new or primary emotion into an enactment is always where we're going in EFT when you think about, yeah.
But the primary demonstration is focused around outlining the cycle and all of the components and getting to the primary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And then, in the stage 2 tape, it's deeper work, right? So you're going to be staying with one partner and really walking around in their fears and their attachment longings. So it's deeper work in stage 2, and it's more focused on one person and helping them go inside into their, working models of self and other, and starting to distill that, right? Starting to get it clear what they're afraid of, and starting to share, and then moving that into an enactment, having them share their fear, their longing with their partner. In stage 2, we have 3 steps, 5, 6, and 7. We don't expect that you're going to be able to get all 3 steps. I mean, sometimes this happens. It's like magic when that happens.
Yeah.
5, 6, and 7 in a 20-minute segment. So really getting a 5 and a 6 is really what we're looking for in stage 2.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So it sounds like we're going to be working with one partner more deeply and really sort of going into their primary emotion, especially if maybe through that we're going to, find a block, like maybe what holds them back, like the fear, and really going deep into that, into their view of self, view of other, and then working that into enactment where they can share that more deeper and vulnerable part. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you've got it.
Perfect. Now, how long are these tape segments? I think I remember the 20 minutes.
20-minute segment. So you send in your whole session, and you tell us where you want us to look. That 20-minute segment is usually continuous. However, we would accept like 2 separate segments within the same session.
Okay. Yeah, because I found on my own journey when I was doing this that at first it was really hard to condense mapping the cycle and getting into all steps of that in 20 minutes.
Exactly.
But the more deeply I focused on it, by the end of my journey, I was able to actually get it together in 20 minutes as I began to focus.
Right. But you know what? I mean, our main, we want you to be tuned into your couple. We want you to be tuned into what's happening in front of you. Right. I mean, I think that's the danger sometimes, that people just want to sort of slap it on their couple and then you lose your attunement in doing that. Right. So let's not go for perfection here. Right. We're not going to get all the pieces in 20 minutes. But and the thing about sending in the tapes is that if there's a piece that you missed, you can reflect on that. You can include that in your transcript. You can say, you know what, given a do-over, I would stick with this longer, or I would move this into an enactment.
That's great. Yeah. And I think that's a wonderful distinction, because so many therapists that I hear struggling through the certification process are really concerned with getting it perfect. And they're like, well, my tape is just not good enough to ask for certification. And I don't think the expectations are quite as stringent as that, and especially from what you're saying. Right,
because if it's perfect, you're not attuned.
Right.
It's all about performance. And there's no perfect therapist, and there's no perfect clients. What we're looking for is, EFT, a lens, right? You're looking at your couple through that lens. You're approaching your couple with that level of engagement, right? That we work with. And you're helping them, start to form new conversations, right? By focusing in on the emotion and the attachment. And, you know, those basic things are really what we're looking for in the tapes. So I think that Allison and Lee and myself are the two people that are looking at the tapes. And that's one of our big messages. Please, you know, don't expect perfection.
Right. And it's okay to be vulnerable when you send in your tape. And part of that will reflect in your write-up, pardon me, of the tape when you're reflecting on, well, you know, going back over my tapes, I realized I might have gone more deeply into this, you know, or done a deeper step 6 or whatever, you know, you're going to write that up today. I might have stayed with this emotion longer. So it's okay to not be perfect. And I love how you said that, because even in some of the training tapes, like Catherine Ream had her own conversation saying, now that I look back over this, I would have done this, you know, a little bit more deeply. So even the pros, you know, because there's so much going on, it's almost humanly impossible to get every single thing perfect every time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, the thing is, I mean, Sue often says, learn the steps and stages of EFT, then forget them and go be with your couple, right? Go be with your family. Because if we're too sort of caught up in our head with doing what we think is the right thing to do, we're not with our clients.
And that is a really amazing point that got brought up at the summit with one of the plenary speakers that said, when you stick too rigidly to the steps and the model, you begin to lose the alliance. In our case, it's the attunement for attachment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, that's really the heart of EFT.
Right. So know it enough to know where you're going, that it gives you that sense of structure, but be flexible enough that if one person needs to stay in that place, you're able to stay there with them and attune to that. Which is so important. That's so important. So let's talk about the components of submitting for certification. So we need a stage 1 and a stage 2 tape that are approximately 20 minutes each. And so they would probably store these on like an encrypted flash drive.
Yes.
And the password to you guys separately.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that way, it's kept confidential. And then once we review the tape, it's destroyed.
Great. Great. So in addition to the tapes, so it's not just the tapes, we actually have to transcribe our tapes and code the transcription with the interventions and the steps that we're in. In addition, there's a whole application that we have to complete, right? Which requires us to verify our credentials and to submit. Do they still do the letters of recommendation?
Yeah, there's letters of recommendation, 1 from your supervisor and then 3 professional colleagues. They don't have to be EFT therapists, but people that know you professionally that can vouch for you. So there's a total of 4 references.
Great. And then there's, if I'm remembering correctly, there's also the write-up, the reflection paper from your sessions.
A case conceptualization. So the stage 1 tape and the stage 2 tape can be 2 different couples. It doesn't have to be the same couple. However, you know, each couple you need to submit as a case conceptualization.
Right. So if you're able to do the same couple, it might save you a little bit of work because you won't have to do the second case conceptualization.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And so they will send these packets together to Ottawa, right?
Right.
ICEEFT. And what's the cost?
So the cost is $600 Canadian to submit. However, we do have a situation right now that if you've completed your certification process within 18 months after your core skills training, it's half price. And special lasts until March 1st of 2018.
See everyone, so hurry up and get your applications in for certification before March 1st, 2018, so that you can take advantage of the special discount. So it's 50% off if you complete the certification process within 18 months of core skills. Is that
Right. At your last weekend of core skills. Yeah.
great? And so it's half price, so that would be 300 Canadian, which is even less in American dollars.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a real deal.
And how do you guys accept payment?
Well, Maura O'Neill is the person that accepts payment, and we take credit cards and PayPal. Yeah.
Great. Absolutely.
Yes.
So they can find all of this information on the ICEEFT website, right?
Yes. Yes. If you go to ICEEFT.com and look under therapist training, all the details of certification, all the paperwork that's required, the address, and all. There's also a checklist that's really, really helpful. It's a one-page checklist that just helps you organize the application.
Right. And make sure you have components.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So are there any last words of wisdom that you would offer to folks who are going through the certification process, maybe things that they should pay extra attention to, or maybe some words of encouragement? You've been reviewing these tapes for a long time.
Yeah, no, and I just, I am so privileged and honored to have that task. I just see such beautiful work, and, don't be afraid is what I would say. Allison and I we both say we do messy work, right? Yeah. None of our work is perfect. So please, take the chance. If it's something that's meaningful for you, I, guarantee that you'll, really benefit from going through the process, and you'll have the support of supervisors that are well aware. They've gone through it themselves. They can help you, right? Walk you through the whole journey. You're not going to be alone with that. So yes.
That's so amazing. I love that. That is so beautiful. And once they achieve certification, so you'll let them know approximately how long is the wait time for them to hear back?
I would think it's within 2 weeks they'll get some feedback, unless there's something happening where Allison and I are traveling. But Maura will let you know as soon as your application arrives in Ottawa. You'll get notification of that, and she'll also give you a time frame in terms of when you should expect some feedback. And we will give you feedback. It's not just, a rubber stamp. We will actually, detailed feedback in terms of, what we're seeing in the tapes, so that we really see it as part of the learning process. This isn't anything that just ends, I'm always learning. I look back at tapes that I did, 10 years ago, and I cringe. Like we're in a learning process. Yeah. So, and certification is part of that. And once you are certified, your status on the website, on the directory, will change, and it'll reflect that. So you will be distinguished with a letter C beside your name that separates you from people that have just done the externship or additional training.
That's wonderful. And what if folks love this process so much that they want to keep going in their path and work towards becoming a certified EFT supervisor? How does that?
That's the next step, and a lot of people choose to do that because they want to, help grow the model and teach other people. And there is a 1-year wait following being certified before you can apply for becoming a supervisor.
Make sure it gels.
Yeah, just to give yourself some time. And unless you're in an area that's completely, isolated or just doesn't have any other supervisors, we would make an exception. But yeah, that requires having 2 mentors to help you, and they will look at your tapes, and that's 10 hours of mentoring from 2 different supervisors of your supervision.
And is this different tapes that you submit as a supervisor? Is this tapes of you supervising students?
Yes, tapes of you supervising 2 different therapists.
And what are those tapes? What are they looking for in those tapes?
We're really looking to see that you're using, you're teaching and supervising EFT, that you're looking at tape because it's an experiential model, right? We're not going to be talking about the case. We're going to actually be looking at the present process and what's happening. And, one of the, Lisa Palmer Olson and Marlene Best and George Fowler have been looking at a model for EFT supervision called ACEs. And that's a really great way of thinking about EFT supervision. So you've got alliance, conceptualization, experiential, and self of the therapist. And those are the 4 basic elements that we're looking for in the supervision tapes.
Well, that's wonderful. And this information is also available on the ICEEFT website. Is it on the same page as the regular certification information?
Yeah, there's another, it just goes on to talk about EFT certification as a supervisor under
And
therapy.
what is the fee for submitting for that?
It's $600.
Okay. Canadian dollars. Everyone remember it's Canadian money.
Yes, right.
Excellent. So Gail, you're so fabulous and so wonderful. If folks want to find you, do you offer any trainings that people can attend?
Certainly under the training events on the website, you'll see there's lists of externships, core skills, advanced special trainings, and my special interest is family. So there's a group of us that are dedicated to applying EFT to the family context. And so that's, you'll see those kinds of trainings on the website also.
Wonderful. So they just go to the ICEEFT website and they can go under the trainings and they'll see the trainers' names attached to the training. So then if they want to go to your training, they can find it.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gail, for being with us.
Okay.
Thank you again so much for all of your expertise and for taking the time to review all of our tapes.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you, Annabelle.
And thank you so much to our viewers for staying tuned. Make sure that you go to the ICEEFT website, ICEEFT.com, and it's got all kinds of great resources, training videos, training information, dates on upcoming trainings, as well as all of the research attached to emotionally focused therapy. So you can, again, remind yourself how truly awesome and life-changing EFT is for both your clients and for you. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Make sure that you subscribe because more videos are on the way.